Lester, you got a lot of good remarks on your cleaning track and wheels.
Well, thank you. Yep, I did from various people, and I'm gonna send a chart out that I just got from Bob Shapiro, and I'll send that out. That's kind of a study that the latest magazine MRH has done, and Model Railroad Hobbyist, and it don't like my isopropyl alcohol, but that's what I've settled on over the years. I've tried a lot of them, but they're all in favor now of using mineral spirits. So I will let each of you decide. And my favorite on the list, which Minnesota got rid of years ago, was carbon tetrachloride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't use that one. That happened, that changed about the time I went to work in the industry where we were cleaning contacts. But
They took that out from a lot of, they decided it was too dangerous for all of us to use.
that's
Yeah.
about 1959. Anyway, we've been using kerosene, the light kerosene, not the heavy kerosene. And I'll tell you, it's done miracles on several layouts, particularly the outside one, which was G gauge. That he would not use anything else but that.
How about you using it inside? How about the odor? I'm just
There is
curious.
zero odor with white kerosene.
Oh, with white kerosene. Okay.
Now, there is a little odor. I don't want to say there's zero odor, but you really have to get your nose down in it to smell it. It's
Okay.
But the yellow kerosene or the heavy kerosene,
That has
want
some
that
odor.
either place. I understand that it's electrically, it is a better conductor. It was number 2 on the list. That Model Railroad put, or not Model Railroad, but the magazine you just mentioned put out.
Yeah, Model Railroad Hobbyist.
Yeah, that was a few years ago they did that.
Well, it would smell like a brakeman shanty, so even the odor should be, authentic.
No, not in my basement. I don't want it. Maybe you guys do.
Doing less is similar to what I do, a paper towel with alcohol. I find that cleans best with the least amount of damage and odor, and et cetera. So
Agree. By the way, and some people think, paper towel tears too easily. One gentleman today I got an email from said, I don't have any problem with the paper towel, but he felt that tears too easily. So he's using handy wipes for what it's worth. But I don't know what's in a handy wipe, but that's what he's using to lay across the track. And Ron, I'm curious, you said somebody is selling a unit already commercially kind of made.
Yeah,
That,
Tom Status.
Could you send out info on that? I'd appreciate that. Just seeing it to see what it's like.
It's almost identical to what you have, except he uses a re-railer piece of track. And the advantage you have is that it is much longer and bigger. And I think that it works, it really works well. We just for cleaning locomotive wheels. And he uses that, what you just said, handy what did you
Handy
say?
wipes.
Handy wipes. That's what he uses for his cloth.
Well, I made mine longer because I actually put one car on each side of the paper towel and used both hands and roll it 2 cars back and forth. So I'm doing 2 at the same time.
I'm thinking about trying to build what you built right on the layout.
I think it'd be, if you got a spur somewhere, absolutely. I think it'd work very well. Well, you could actually do it on a passing sighting somewhere too, I would think.
I was thinking about, I got a lot of brass. I was thinking about using a thin piece of brass, maybe, half the width of the track as my hold down.
Whatever works.
The problem is that coupler glad arm, if you use glad arms, it tries to always catch it. Otherwise, you got no problem, really.
Well, I kind of eliminated that with, you notice the deep flanged old track? I finally found a use for one of those instead of throwing them in the trash, those deep flanges, but they push that paper towel nicely up against the rail and really put it down inside the rail.
yeah, the club that's at the fairgrounds in Des Moines has several shelves on spring-loaded. They pop up and lay flat, and they're called cleaning stations, and they have a piece of track on there. They have a roll of paper towels, and then they have a couple of squeeze bottles. Some of the guys up there like alcohol, others like mineral spirits. So they have both cleaners available for when club members bring in equipment and need to clean track or clean wheels. And they're about a foot square, maybe 18 inches by 12 on spring-loaded shelf brackets that fold down out of the way when they don't need them. So
The Scottsdale Model Railroad Club down here in Arizona, or Scottsdale Model Railroad Historical Society they use handy wipes with alcohol for cleaning locomotive wheels, much like, just what you've been talking about. But as far as rails go, they don't put anything liquid on the rails at all. They just use masonite. And on the trains that run automatically, when the public, when they're in there, they have a couple of dedicated cars with masonite, pads that run around that keep the rails pretty well cleaned off. We don't have too much of a problem with the main lines that get run regularly on, because those masonite pads do a pretty good job. But where we have problems are the places that tend to get forgotten, like yards and industrial sidings and that type of thing, where engines will periodically stall because somebody forgot to clean the track. Those require a special effort with a piece of masonite, but they've decided they don't want anything liquid anywhere near their track.
I agree with that. I use a little different thing, but I keep it dry.
In our group, we have a group called the Tuesday Night Roundhouse. We have about 8 members or 9, and of that we have 7 operating railroads, and 2 of the guys absolutely no liquid whatsoever. They use paper towel and masonite, but no liquid whatsoever. And I do that a lot too, on and off. Just use it dry, and it's amazing how much comes off on a dry piece of paper towel wrapped on that piece of masonite. Or if you get a real stubborn area, the masonite by itself works really well too.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll even use just a small piece of pine 1x2 that I've got an inch or 2 block, and just use the edge to run along the rails. And it's amazing how much that'll just pick up.
Well, Ron said he uses a piece of homosode with a brass
Yeah.
handle. And I would think homosode would be another one that would pick up any kind of dirt really, really well.
I'll show that to you tonight.
Yeah, the difficulty with homosode, because it's made out of ground up newspapers, it does leave a little fine residue sometimes.
Okay. All right. You don't want residue. I got, some of the guys were saying, well, how about Goo Gone? Or I tell you, I tried Goo Gone, I'm going to say about 12 years ago. And it took me months. It leaves a film on the rail, and it creates a grime. It collects its own dust and dirt. And it took me several months to get that crap, excuse me, off. It's great for removing labels, let's say, off of a bottle, but I would never use it on rail.
A friend
If
of
you
mine
If you
called
get
me
Goo Gone
over.
on your fingers, you realize how resilient it is. You can't get rid of it.
Yes,
A friend of
Exactly.
mine called me over and he said, my switches don't work. I went over there and looked at them. It was just like it was gunk all over that, because he had those roller cars. He had
Mhm.
about 3 of them, and the first 2 cars were full of Goo Gone, and the second car was supposed to be picking it up. It wasn't picking nothing up.
No.
So it's terrible stuff.
Just out of curiosity, the other thing is, some of them are saying they might use graphite. Have any of you, I've had bad experiences with graphite. Any of you tried anything like that?
Yeah, I tried it on my great layout back in Minnesota, the one that I had to tear down when we moved about 5 years ago. And I had a slight grade, and for some reason I had I had an area where it was really poor conductivity, and I did everything. I tried cleaning the track, and I couldn't figure out. I still had a kind of a halfway dead spot. So I heard about putting graphite on it. And I put a little graphite on it, and it conducted really great. But the engine sat in one spot and spun its wheels. You've got to be really, really chintzy with the graphite. And apparently I put it on a tad too thick. But I think if you use it sparingly, notorious dead spots, or would be like around crossings, diamonds and frogs and places like that. I think if you use it sparingly in places like that, it'll serve a purpose. But geez, you've got to be really careful with it, because put it on too thick and nothing will go it'll just sit there and spin its wheels.
Clark gave me a bar of graphite, a couple years ago. His stepson uses it, I guess, a lot. Jason. And I've tried it a few times. I guess it works okay. I don't know. I'm a little leery of it also. Just graphite is so slippery. If you put too much on it, I think
Yep.
I'm going to have the same problem as you did.
Yep, copy that.
Okay.
I've tried graphite. I've tried just about everything. What I've come back down to is denatured alcohol. It evaporates. And
Yep.
And then for switches, if I have a problem with the switch, I use this stuff. I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know the guy from Model Railroad Hobbyist doesn't like it, but it cleans up like.
Well,
Well,
years and years ago, I used something that was called TV tuner cleaner. You could buy it at
Yeah.
Radio Shack in a spray can, back when we had the dial knobs on the TVs.
Mhm.
And it really worked well for cleaning up the gunk. But yeah,
Yeah, but that's similar to just that electronic cleaner.
yep,
Like some more
Yeah.
I'm
stuff.
sure it's the same thing. It was
Yeah.
really good about cleaning those plastic freight cars. You get the gunk off of them and then they accumulated again the next time around.
Yeah.
Well, see, I tried a number 2 pencil, when I heard about graphite on points, and I found them arcing. I mean, they would arc, and all of a sudden,
Really?
a couple of the operators saying, "Oh, how come I get a blue spark on the tip of your points?" So the graphite went away quickly. That's all I got. And I'm talking Shinohara turnouts, by the way,
Mhm.
for what it's worth.
All right, well, we have a open discussion tonight. I'm going to show a picture and Chuck is going to tell us what he's been up to. I also thought I would, a lot of you did not catch Saturday's program for our division, and I went over some of the statistics on YouTube. And so I thought I might just take a couple minutes and go over that because it's pretty eye-opening. And maybe I'll do that first. So I'll share my screen. Then Ron's going to do a tour of his basement and show us what he's up to. And we'll see how that works. Let me share my screen here. And so the first thing we'll look at, I don't know if you guys can get on here and see this, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but this is the statistics for December for people watching these recordings that we do every week. And so you can see here, there were 2,800 views in the month of December, and they watched for a total of over 416 hours, which is really a lot. We got 21 more subscribers, and we're up to 247 subscribers. Just in the last 48 hours, they're showing 375 views. So this page is really getting a lot of traffic, and I'm starting to get contacted by other divisions that are wanting to do this as well. And people who really enjoy watching this stuff. So while it's often maybe 15 or 20 of us on a Thursday night, which is a lot and a lot of fun, these things are really having an impact. And I also get I think one of our subscribers, I couldn't read their name because it's in Chinese or Japanese or something like that. So it's all over the world, and so it's real neat. Down here, you can see the top content. And so people are going back and looking at stuff from June and even last year and things. I think there's 50 of them listed if you go all the way down. And lately, in December, because Mitch's, the presentation we did on Mitch's layout was December 1st. You can see that one really did well with over 1,100 views. Brian Preston's presentation also at 542. So all of them have their day, usually for about a month or so. There's people coming in and watching them. You can see up here, the graph shows how that works. But anyway, I just think it's impressive that people are really responding to this, enjoying it. I've gotten one critical comment from a guy who didn't understand what constructive feedback was. And of course, I'm an educator, so I helped him learn. And so anyway, let me go over here and get to see if I can find Chuck's photograph, and I'll put that on the screen. Let's see.
Now, Greg, I'll add, did I throw your stats off a little bit? Because I have a program I can download YouTubes and convert them into, MP3 files or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't watch them online. I just download them, convert them, and watch them later time, maybe 2 or 3 times. So you
Yeah.
don't get the 3 times I watch it in your count.
Right, right. There may be other people doing that, yeah. And to me, I'm not trying to, make any decisions by it. I'm just amazed, really, because we really haven't done much to publicize it outside of just our group. And but people are finding it, and it's one of those things where the more people find it, they pass it along, and before long, there's a lot of people looking at it. So it's great. And it's just a credit to everybody in this group and the larger email group. There's a lot of expertise there, and it's just nice that everybody's willing to share that and help everybody else who's trying to get into the hobby. So Chuck, why don't you tell us about what we're looking at here?
Well, yeah, this is just like I think I mentioned in the email, just more or less a proof of life photo. I have a tendency to disappear for a while. I am actually still doing things in addition to playing golf down here, but this is I took the tops off a couple sections of the layout in the Arizona room, and I wanted to just construct a little bit of a branch line and with a staging yard at the end of it. The staging yard is on the bottom end of it. There is only going to have 2 or 3 tracks and each track is only going to be long enough to hold maybe 6 or 7 cars. So it's not going to be a huge staging area, but the grade on this is about a 3% grade, 1 inch and 30-inch grade. And it's a 30-inch radius curve. So I think that's about, I don't know if I want to go any more than that, or I'd have to have really short trains. As it is, I should be able to haul a dozen or so cars up here, I'm thinking, without too much difficulty. But I model this layout here, models Winthrop and Fairfax in southern Minnesota. And from Winthrop, there was there was a main line that continued west into the Dakotas or into South Dakota, and Fairfax was on that branch or on that main line. But then there was also a branch going down into Iowa, what they call the Southwest Extension, went down through New Ulm and down to Spencer, Iowa, with connections on to Des Moines. And that's what this grade and the staging area is to represent. It's going to be traffic going to and from New Ulm. Nothing fancy. It's just now that I've got it ready to just put cork roadbed, and then I use code 83 flex track. So like I say, it's nothing fancy, but the bench work that you see, you get a little better look at the bench work. That's an IKEA shelving system. It forms the basis of it. And I really like it. I mean, it's nothing this thing is not fastened to the wall in any place. It's sturdy, it's solid, it doesn't move. I'm really impressed with how well it went together for an IKEA product. It went together really well, and it's very, very sturdy. And I like the openness underneath, so I can do wiring without having to be a contortionist. But that's really, I mean, that's really all I've got to say about it. If there's any questions, of course, I'd be happy to answer. But just in general, on the videos in general, I don't get a chance to watch all of them. I've got other things going on, and I really do enjoy to look at the ones that I do get to see. Clark's I found to be really interesting a couple of weeks or so ago on boxcars. I'd like to see a little discussion about, brake systems and that type of thing is exactly what's the difference between a K brake and a split K and an AB brake system and that type of thing. Those are some of the educational things that some people could, maybe myself included, benefit from. But anyway, that's the story of the photograph that I sent you.
That's great. Thanks, Chuck. I know somebody who did a clinic on brake systems a while back, Ron.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think we did that one online. That was right before we started doing the online stuff.
Yeah, I need to redo it because I've learned a lot since then on how to make the presentation better. But most of my
Yep.
stuff came from Gene Green. I know Gene pretty well, and Gene is kind of the expert on brakes.
I was gonna say,
There's
I've
other
got
guys that are really good, but Gene
Yeah.
is really good too.
I've got about a 30-page handout from Gene on freight car brakes that
Yeah,
he
I got
did
it
at a NMRA convention 20-some years ago that I can send to you, Greg, so you can post it to
Sure.
your group. So
That's an excellent document. I have it. And if you don't have it, and if Doug is willing to share, that is a
Oh, yeah.
fantastic thing to go through. And anytime you need to look anything up, it covers everything, anything, dimensions, pipe sizes, everything. It's a great document.
That sounds good. All right. Well, Ron, you want to show us what you're up to?
Okay, what's going to happen here is I'm going to go in the other room and I got to set up a little bit so you guys can talk while I get on the iPad. I'm going to turn this one off.
All right. So
As long as he's setting that up, I was thinking Dave Nelson, I think it was you that sent out the information on that's been sending out the information on freight car trucks. Is that you?
Yes. Yeah, that was me.
That might be an interesting something interesting to put together in a handout or PDF form also.
yeah.
And most of those pictures are my own, so I wouldn't have to worry about some rightful owner coming at me with a hatchet.
By the way, here's that book by Gene Green.
Oh, yeah.
This is the book. I put it together in a spiral bound. And on the trucks, if you're looking for a document on trucks, years ago, maybe many of you aren't aware, Richard Hendrickson, who is now deceased, part of the RPM group. I could go grab that and show you that too. But that's online in several places. And that covers all your model trucks, majority of them. It doesn't, maybe things like the old Cape Lion or something like that may be missing, but it does a wonderful job of telling you what trucks and also where they were used, maybe on various cars.
I think I've seen that, but it's been lost in the shuffle someplace. Maybe just shoot us a link or two to some of those to refresh our own memories.
Dave, would you be willing to put that on one of these Zoom calls? I read your article on that you presented this week, and I'll admit some of the terminology went beyond me in terms of interpretation.
I could
Is it-
certainly try, and now I've been putting a lot of things out in those emails because I knew I wasn't able to put them on a Thursday night Zoom. So
I would reinforce, if possible, if you could do that, because I ended up with more questions than answers. I think you did a beautiful job.
well, thank you. Yeah, that's something we should put on the list then.
Oh, and Dave's
By the
got-
way, here's that Hendrickson book, and here's an example just of a page of it. For example, so it covers the various trucks, and there's pages of it, as you can see, pages upon pages.
That's great. And Dave's got his new computer, so he's prepared now to start giving presentations.
Yeah, well, don't hold out of your breath. But, we'll do our best.
Well, it'd probably send Greg's statistics over the top.
That's right. That's right. Well, now I got to see if we can start making money selling advertising or something. I imagine that.
Well, it is amazing what's being given away for free, not only by you, but other similar minded people. It's no wonder that places like Kambach are in so much economic hurt. I was visiting a friend who worked there a couple of weeks ago, and it was walking these long corridors with empty offices everywhere I looked.
Huh.
I mean, it was really shocking. There's nobody there. They're all laid off. They're
Oh, really?
gone.
They're actually laid off or are they working from home?
No, they're gone.
They're gone. Huh? I had a tour of their facility a few years ago before COVID and
So
it was
did I.
starting, it was somewhat empty then.
It's
Yep.
absolutely bare bones staffing now. And familiar names gone.
Yeah. Well, I noticed in their presentations, almost all of them are from a stable of authors now,
Yeah.
more so than going out and finding new railroads and, new models to show.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but they seem to have the same authors over and over again.
That's correct. They do. I agree with that. That they're pretty much, it's Cody is one of them and et cetera, but it's they're over and over the same people.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
But-
is Ron ready to go or were we still
Looks
filling
like
in
it.
for?
He's getting, I see his iPad is
Okay.
I'm
on.
getting close.
All right.
But as for sharing, that's what this hobby, what's so great about it. And whether you're, okay, Doug, and along the way, I know Doug just got his master model railroad through the NMRA, and those of you who are participate, of course, there, if you're gonna, once you start working in a program, I'm very lucky that I had some great people along the way share things. And for example, when I entered the first contest, I remember I entered a gas station. I thought, boy, this is really good. And I went up against a gentleman who said to me in the end, he took first place, of course, and scored very well. And he said to me, kid, you're good. He said, but you got to work at it. And his structure, of course, had in the windows, working Venetian blind guys. And I don't know if you remember a name called Jacques Opelante. He won
yeah.
3 gold awards at the Nationals. And that was the gentleman I went up against, and he really did. He had working Venetian blinds.
Well, I'm having a little bit of difficulty trying to figure out how to get the full screen on.
Well, we see, we had you for a second there. You were sharing.
This comes up screen broadcasting. I'll push OK and see what happens.
That's what
I
you
see.
got to do.
I see you, but I don't see anybody. I don't see my side.
Uh-huh.
I should go to screen, I think. And then I'm not sure whether I go to Zoom or screen broadcast.
Well, I
Looks
don't
like
know.
Zoom.
Your hand over the camera?
No, my hand is, but that isn't.
There you are.
Well, okay. Wait a minute. Maybe you can see me. I can't see you.
Could see you there for a second.
How about that?
No.
No, we're not seeing anything now. I think you got to share your screen somehow.
We did this once before about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
There, is on the iPad, there is a share screen button.
Yeah, I know it. I've
And
I've
Greg,
lost that.
Greg, have you enabled Ron Christensen to share screen?
Yeah.
You can see your face again, Ron.
Yep.
Now I got to turn it around. That's the problem.
Oh, actually, he's on twice now.
Yeah. That's all right.
But you guys don't see that, huh?
No, we don't see anything.
That's the problem. On my end, I'm seeing what I want to see, but I can't get it onto the internet.
Well, that's okay. If you're seeing what you want to see, now you go to Zoom and share screen and we should see it.
Right.
But when I go there, I no longer have the share screen up. I can't, there's no, down at the bottom or top, there should be a little green box
Yeah.
that says share screen.
Well, maybe go to Zoom and share your screen and then go back to the camera.
Zoom.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we are the old dude detective agency. We should be able to figure this out.
Well.
Speak for
he's-
yourself, Ken. Some of us are still young.
It's sure
The
a
only-
good thing we didn't have
The
a,
the iPad is a different animal than, when you're doing presentations on Zoom.
you know what, the problem was, we did this one time, long time ago, and now I don't understand what I did then, and
We saw
Can't
your
do
screen
now.
for a second when you had that broadcast thing going.
yeah, but you're probably seeing me, aren't you?
Now,
Yes.
but when you first came on, we were seeing the full screen.
Sorry, Ron, the only advice I can give is get your wife to give you a new one.
I will give it another 5 minutes and then I'll say, you know what? I'm not going to do it.
Ron, did you start when you were in Zoom, when you left or there, when you went into Zoom? That's where you got to share your screen right away. And then it will take you off to that broadcast button stuff. And you start, when you push that, etc.
I have the instructions. Old guy, I looked up the instructions. Start or join the Zoom meeting from your phone or iPad. In the meeting controls toolbar, tap share content.
Yep. Yep.
And then tap the screen, tap the microphone on off, and tap to start the broadcast. Have you got the share content, Ron?
Yeah, I have an unusual thing. It says screen, photos, iCloud, Dropbox, and so forth and so forth. And I think I need to go to screen,
Screen, yep, it says tap screen.
and then I get this, and then and then I get a new screen that says screen broadcast, Zoom, or start broadcast.
Yep, push the start button.
Oh, wait a minute.
There's the start button, correct. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You
Whoop,
got
There you
something?
were.
Well, you had it.
you
It went away.
had it.
Do that again.
So are these pictures of naked ladies? I mean, is it worth all this?
Yeah, it's not, I don't know. It's probably isn't worth it.
Oh, I'm just kidding, Ron.
If that's what you want, John, it's much easier just to go to the internet instead of trawling this group.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong Zoom meeting.
When I was in the Navy, guys would always want to go to strip clubs. I said, why go somewhere to get started when you can't finish up anything? It's not worth it.
I keep coming up with, instead of start broadcast, I keep coming up with stop broadcast.
Well, that you're doing well.
Oh, well, well, you can hear the audio part.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
There's something, I'm sure you've already done this. Says if you don't see the screen option, it may be due to the disabled desktop screen sharing for meetings, your host setting at the Zoom web portal. Is there a desktop screen sharing?
No, I think I've enabled everything.
Well, I'm also wondering, he's got his other Ron Christensen 2 still on.
It's too bad you guys can't see what I'm seeing. All right. I'll try one other thing and then I'm going to quit.
All right, now we got a picture of your thumb. At least I sure hope the heck it's your thumb.
That's a nice thumb.
It's on a thumb drive.
Ah,
All right, I give up. What you're hearing is the rotary snowplow going on. And here's the whistle for the rotary. And of course, you get the steam engine behind it.
That you can hear.
And I'm sorry you couldn't see it run.
Well, I think we got a couple of weeks till we'll see snow yet, so.
Okay, we can try that. You and I,
We'll keep trying.
I'm done.
All right. Anybody else have anything they want to share tonight?
Oh, I can show you, share with you something.
Okay, very good.
Let me find it here for.
While Doug's looking for that, I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of one of those USRA rebuilt steel-sided kits from Tichy and build it into that Wabash car that was on a couple days ago that we were discussing. That looks like such an odd build, and it's an interesting rationale behind putting, reversing the dimensional data and the weights and that type of thing on them. That I'd never heard that before, but it's an interesting concept.
Have you built any Tichy cars before?
Yes, I built tank cars and a couple of tank cars and a couple of reefers.
Okay.
And those went together just slick as heck. They really do a nice job, I thought.
I've got a bunch of their box cars.
I've never done a box car.
They,
Yeah,
they are really nice.
yeah. I've used enough of a lot of their pieces for scratch building. I've used their underframes and roof walks and that type of thing, and of course all of their brake components for scratch builds. But as far as kits go, their reefers and their tank cars that I've done are really good kits, and I would anticipate the box car is too.
Flats are excellent too. Flats built into a prototype SP&S. Don't have to touch them at all. Others you have to convert a little bit, but they turn in, the flat car is also excellent.
Yeah, somebody pointed out, and I didn't notice it when I looked at it initially, somebody pointed out that the Wabash car was it Dave, I think, maybe shared that the other day? That Wabash car was a 5-panel or 10-panel, 5 on each side of the door. And the Tichy kit the Tichy box car is just a 4-panel, but I guess I'm willing to overlook that.
It was somebody else who mentioned that. I noticed it, but I didn't mention it. So
It was Ron, help me out, Rod.
It was Ron Sleater.
Yeah, that's who it brought up. That's who
Yeah.
brought it up.
Yep, so. Well, I don't know if you can see my screen there.
Yeah, we
We
can see it.
can.
Okay, I finally have measured my new dugout crawl space. We poured concrete Friday. Contractor will be back next week after his week in Mexico, spending all my money to pour the floor. But I've got a space that's about 13 by 21. The concrete benchwork's already in place. It's 32 inches wide around 3 sides of the room. And I'm looking at what to do with that space. One of the towns I want to model is Hampton, Iowa. So today I started playing with the Sanborn maps to what was at Hampton, and my interest is in M and St. L. But as you can see, the north side of Hampton, there was a very interesting interchange here between M and St. L and Chicago Great Western. M and St. L went north and south, and then had a branch line that went off to the northwest. Chicago Great Western came in from the east, then angled off to the southwest a little bit. And then on the far west side of town, the Rock Island came through. And so south of this interesting little mix-up diamond was the M and St. L trackage. And here's the Sanborn maps. There was the Iowa Public Service had their electric and gas plant up here. The railroad had a coaling tower. They also had a small engine house, and there were some corn drying cribs here. Come down, we got the depot, the water tank, There's a warehouse for storage of cement, bulk oil and the wood, standard wood platform. Looks like a couple of storage buildings of some sort over here. Swift and Company had a dairy and poultry plant there where they probably were collecting eggs, butter, and poultry, or shipping out poultry that was cleaned and processed. You see the feed and coal, several coal dealers, a grain elevator here, several bulk oil, another large lumberyard down here, electrical supplies for IPS, and then the tracks went out of town. What intrigues me is that the north side of town, the Great Western came across, and they had, my interest is the Western Grocer Cannery plant that was there for sweet corn next to the lumberyard behind the depot. And then they had this spur here with about 5 bulk oil jobbers along this spur. And at the far end, there was a small nursery company. And so I'm thinking running this down one side of the room, trying to figure out how to incorporate the Great Western maybe off into the corner, because I really want to do the cannery. Unfortunately, the interchange here is going to work best at the other end of the track, but that's just something I'm going to wrestle with with my physical layout and where I plan to, because I do plan to, this branch line, I do want to come, it'll come through the bottom of the stairway and go into the sugar beet plant that was over at Belmont. So I want to build the sugar beet plant. Chuck should know something about those things. But this is what I've been working on this afternoon. So that I'll stop sharing now. I'll give you an idea of what I've been up to. So
Now, Doug, when you find those Sanborn maps, I think you said those are on the Library of Congress, right?
yes, they are.
Now, how do you
But-
find a railroad map like that on there?
Well, you have to type in Sanborn maps and then either the name of the county or the name of the town you want to go to. And be aware of the Library of Congress has not yet got everything scanned that they have access to. Because I was just looking at Mason City and they've only got some rudimentary stuff on Mason City. I've got more that I saved from the state library on their microfiche than they have up online. So it's a hit and miss. Now, some state universities they paid for the access and they have access online through their state libraries and things like that. I know I have access for Iowa because I'm an Iowa resident, but you can sometimes, like Illinois, those are available online through almost any Illinois university without being a university alum or anything like that.
Okay.
But you might check with the Michigan State or University of Michigan to
Right.
see if they have, or one of your main state library or institutional libraries that are around.
Mhm.
But,
You know, in Minnesota, the Minnesota Historical Society has the Sanborn maps online, and you can access them there. You can ask for copies if you want to get a paper copy in hand, or they'll email you a really good copy of it also if you don't like what they have online. But the problem is there was not a Sanborn map of every town, I'm finding. Some places it's kind of hit and miss, at least it was in Minnesota. Maybe 2/3 of the town or half the towns have got Sanborn maps, but the rest of them you're kind of, you're
Yes.
just kind of winging it.
And the smaller the town, the less opportunity it had for any business or industry that might be buying fire insurance, the less
Right.
likely it's going to have a map done.
Right,
The Iowa State Historical Society, it was where I was accessing the microfilm and they had those posted online. And then all of a sudden, when the Library of Congress started posting their versions, the State Library of Iowa switched over to you click on the link and it takes you to the Library of Congress. And so I no longer have access to as many maps as I used to have, which is frustrating.
Going backwards.
That was their decision. So,
Greg, if you need something for Gary and Lake County, you can come to the Valpo Library and get it.
Okay.
Okay, my wife's a genealogist, the head genealogy librarian there.
Oh,
And
good.
she's got all sorts of stuff.
now
Dave, have you tried to get into the Wisconsin Historical Society? Because I tried getting in there, and the last time I tried, they were demanding a membership, or you had to be registered historian or something. Have you ever tried that?
I haven't tried there, but I do believe the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee has Sanborn maps. But how extensive, I don't know. But you might want to try them because they didn't seem to ask anything of me, although it wasn't the most user-friendly experience. I also noticed that some of the Sanborn maps I've printed out over the years, they're not all to the same scale. So if you want to create a master map using all the little bits and pieces you get from Sanborn, you really can't do it.
Well, you can. What I did, what I just showed you, I did in PowerPoint by calling in each map, cropping it and resizing it until I could get them to match up. And then using PowerPoint features, I was able to put all those labels on there and create it. I got a printer that will do 11 by 17. So I was able to print it out on that size of paper, which gives me kind of a master where I can print out each individual map. And I've done that before where I put them up on a tack board to give me an idea for track diagrams and plans. But railroad maps in particular, your railroad historical societies might have them. The National Archives in DC has the ICC evaluation reports, and maps are often submitted as part of that. A source I found that nobody thinks about is your county courthouse, the county engineer and the county tax assessor's office. When railroads built through the county, they had to submit plans for tax purposes. And those often involved right-of-way maps. And I have several times have gone into a county courthouse and either got steered to the engineer's office or the tax assessor's office, depending on which one kept those maps. But because they're taxable property, they're required to keep the maps on hand. So you know, if you live near an area you're wanting to check on, I even found right-of-way maps before any tracks were laid, and I was allowed to photograph them. No way we could scan them, but I could photograph portions of those. It helps if the engineer or the assessor is also a rail fan, then you get a real plus. They even let me make copies on their roll copier at one courthouse.
Or the surveyor's office too, Doug.
Yes, another good source.
Our surveyor is a classmate of mine, and I can call him up almost anytime and ask him a question about something, or he'll call me up and say, "Hey, what do you know about this?"
Yeah. Now, John, is it John Luck up there in Minnesota?
Lukey. It's John
And
Lukey.
he's got a CD of every railroad map of Minnesota. He'll sell you the CD plus a thumb drive with the index on it, because he just scanned them from the ICC files, I think. And that's a tremendous resource. I think he's selling for $25, $35. And the index is what's key, because everything's numbered. There's no way to look it up by the town or location. It's numbered by what section was in and what, and I've got a lot of stuff for Iowa, you know, Emmons St. Ella pretty much got covered, and some of the others. But he's the only one I ever see that did a whole state. But you might check around with rail fans in your area or the area you model and see if they know of a source of railroad maps. Historical societies often have some. And if they can't get a copy made, it's amazing how many of the copy places now have large roll type copiers where you can take a map in and it's so much a foot or so much a, you know, something that they charge you for, but it can be worth it. Or they'll even scan it and just put it on a thumb drive if you take in your thumb drive. I worked with one in Ames where Roger Ward would give me maps. I'd go over there and they'd scan them for about $4 a piece and put them on a thumb drive for me. So.
Very good. Well, thanks, Doug. Is there anybody else want to share anything tonight?
I just want to share something without having a picture to show,
Sure.
but I've been working on an area which I installed some Tam Valley frog juicers. I am extremely happy with the product. It's been a switching nightmare. I would always stall on the frogs, but these new frog juicers they have, you just hook up to the track wire, it senses what polarity, if it's right or wrong, and switches it within microseconds. So it's flawless, the operation now. It's made night and day.
Oh, that's great.
Has anybody taken over the Tam Valley line? I know Tam Valley, he was retiring. Because I use his stuff for my my servos for my semaphores. I could still get them, but I was told that they're gonna be scarce and few and far between coming soon.
Oh, I hadn't heard anything about that, but
Does anybody know anything, current rumors, denials or whatever about scale coat?
I heard the whole company, is that Musket Miniatures
yeah,
is
It's gone.
shutting down.
gone.
Minuteman scale models.
Minuteman.
I think they're
Mhm.
completely folded.
Yeah, there's no,
Exactly, they're gone.
no web presence, no nothing, and
Right.
yeah, no phone number. Okay. Well, somebody, I
Sure.
hope somebody picks them up. It is just, after all, a pigment company that they buy their pigments from, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's a shame, again.
I'm afraid it's gonna happen in the hobby more and more. We're going to lose the small business guy a lot.
But at the same time, we're seeing new companies coming out. I mean, there's new paints out there. There's new products that are replacing some of the old ones. Sure, we have our favorites of stuff, but you know, we're not so old, we can't adapt and change, right?
That's right. We're young at heart.
Yeah, so I'm
And
going to
young
share
in
my
mind.
screen again.
Yeah,
I
but
wanna
I'm
show
old
you-
everywhere else.
Yeah, here is the space in the basement that we've dug out and poured the concrete. We had to come in because the footings did not go down all the way. We had to come in and put in new footings and a knee wall. And the knee wall is 39 inches high. We pour a 4-inch floor in here and it'll be at about 36 inches. And my bench work is at 48 inches high. But this is, and then there'll be an egress window where you see the pink foam at the other end. So I'll just make a nice little addition here to the layout.
Yeah,
So-
it almost looks like you're building an ark and I'd recommend you build it outside.
Well, the contractor didn't want any of these walls moving. This one's got a little bit of a kink in it because it did shift a little as he's pouring concrete, but yeah. Need to get in there and get all this structure pulled out. And next week, we'll be pouring the floor in there. And then I'm gonna put 2 inches of foam on the walls for some insulation and that'll bring me in 2 inches, but I'll have about a 30-inch deep deck around 3 sides here. And then where the picture's being taken from is from an opening in the wall. We're going to cut that open to about a 5-foot width and cut a couple windows on either side so we can run tracks in there. So,
Looks
So
like
while
Hampton,
you're-
Iowa.
While you're putting foam down, you gonna save some for the layout?
oh yeah, yeah. Well, they did this, I've started building on top of drywall, so I'm going to lay the track on drywall in this space.
Ooh,
So, you know, like I said, I'm an old dog, but I'm learning new tricks and laying track on drywall for a permanent layout is something I'm willing to try. I've done a little bit of it, been very pleased, so gonna try some more.
can you stabilize the humidity there? That's one thing I heard about laying track on drywall. You have to make sure your humidity is constant.
With my allergies, we run air conditioning all summer and dehumidifiers.
Okay.
We don't open up windows, so yeah.
Doug, I trust you're gonna use 5/8 inch drywall.
Probably, yeah, for the road bed. I had 1/2 inch when I did it before. Yeah,
There's a
that's-
world of difference in the stiffness between 1/2 inch and 5/8.
Yep, I put cross braces every 12 inches under the 1/2 inch. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the plan. So,
Doug, did you have a back or a Bobcat in there?
yes, we did.
Okay.
Because we were initially talking about where that pink opening is, talking about putting a full door in and a stairway. And then as we started the job and he had a small Bobcat, he had to modify a bucket to get it to fit into that opening. And he was in there digging out with a Bobcat.
Okay.
Then I've decided to do away with the door and just go with an egress window. That saves me the expense of the having to put a foundation down for the stairway.
Sure.
It'll just be an emergency exit if need be. So,
I helped my cousin rebuild her kitchen, and I actually had a bobcat inside the kitchen.
yep.
She still, I said, Connie, you gotta move those cabinets. She had china in there. And I'm driving around, you know, a bobcat is not exactly the most smooth piece of machinery. I was
Looks like
fine
a
until
bull
she
in a
told me
china
that,
shop.
then I was nervous as hell.
Yeah, well, when he dug the trenches for the footings, he went and rented a little bitty electric backhoe that he had in there. So, because the one he has was too big to get in. It had a cab on it, so he had to rent a little one. But it sure made quick work versus trying to dig it out by hand. And that dirt, even though it's a lot of black dirt with some clay underneath it, it was so hard. They had to use the jackhammer with a spade bit to break off chunks for the bobcat to pick up.
Wow.
So those boys were working last week.
Okay, you win.
Yep, but I'll keep you posted. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see lots of pictures.
Yeah, it's great to see the progress. Great to see.
Hey, before I forget, I think quite a few guys know Dick Barry. He's been having some health trouble, and he was down at St. Vincent's, and he's due to come back home tomorrow with a new drug regimen.
Okay.
So things are looking up.
Oh,
That's
good.
That's great to hear.
I thought it was kind of, we weren't seeing much from him the last few days.
Yeah.
Well, they're basically doing transfusions and blood in, blood out, and
Ooh,
he's got
yeah.
that immunosuppression where his body's trying to kill him. So I guess that's what they've been doing to him. But it's starting to look up. And last I heard, I believe he's coming home tomorrow, but I'll find out more and try to let you guys know.
Okay.
All right. Very
Mhm.
good. All
Well,
right.
Doug, when you get all of the construction work done and it's safe to come down and operate without being put to work, let us know.
Right.
Safe to
I wonder if
operate
we could
without being put to work. Boy, is that an oxymoron or?
Yeah. Just a matter of what kind of work.
You think we could start a bus in Michigan and pick up all you people on the way and
Oh, there you
Make-
go.
Make a special trip. Yeah, I was running a locomotive through some of the new areas last night and found that I got a short in my throttle bus. I got to track that down. I was starting to work on it last night, finally gave up about 9:30. So I'm assuming I got a bad cable somewhere. So
You have NCE or Digitrax?
DC, I have Easy DCC by Gutierrez, CVP products. And it uses coaxial cable for the throttle bus.
Oh, okay.
So
All
either
right.
that or I got a bad solder joint on one of the plug-in plates. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Well, we're going to have John Golden with us next Thursday. The long-awaited presentation he's giving on what he's doing with turnouts, building turnouts. And so we look forward to that. And then I think the week after that, we'll have Mont Switzer and some of the vehicle modeling that he's been doing. And maybe by then, Dave, you'll be ready to present in mid-February, but we'll see.
I'll let you know.
All right. But,
Well,
and of course, if anybody's interested in presenting, by all means, just let me know. It's been great with the variety of things that we've been able to talk about. And thanks everybody for joining tonight, and have a great Thursday, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Night, everybody.
Too, Greg.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good
Bye.
evening.